Okay, welcome Math 20-3 and 30-3 students for one of our kind of intro lessons to begin the course. We're just going to be looking at some review of some basics for how to do algebra. This shouldn't be new information, but it's always good to kind of review how to go through these steps as it can help with formula rearrangement and just making sure you don't make some simple mistakes in some other questions. If you do find it challenging, definitely ask me some questions on that and we can get to those questions before we do begin the course. Okay, so when we're doing algebra, we're going to be solving for a variable like we see here. We have 8 is equal to 2x, and we're going to be solving for x. So not too much notes here. Locate the variable that you want to solve for. And I'm going to write in red here that this is the variable x. That's what we're trying to figure out what it is. Determine what's being done to that variable. So we can see that 2 is right beside x, and x is being multiplied by 2. So we just need to know what's happening to it. It's being multiplied by 2. And do the opposite in the reverse order of BEDMAS. So you might remember BEDMAS from some previous courses. What it stands for is like the order that you should be solving a problem in. And normally we go brackets, exponents, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. But when we're rearranging or solving for a variable, we're going to go in the reverse direction. They kind of come in groups here. Addition, subtraction are together, division, multiplication, then exponents, then brackets. So we're going to look at this problem. We don't see any addition or subtraction. Next, we do see multiplication. So to undo that, we're going to do division. It says do the opposite in the reverse order of BEDMAS. So if this is 2 times x, the opposite of that is divide. We'll divide by 2. I usually write it like that by putting a 2 on the bottom or in the denominator to show it's being divided. And it's nice that when we see something on the top and bottom, they can cancel like that. So it shows the times 2, divide, do, cancel. Next, whatever is being done to one side of the equation has to be done to the other side of the equation as well. So if we divide by 2 on that side, we divide by 2 on this side. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And 4 is equal to x for our answer. Let's just apply that to a couple other examples. They'll be a little bit more tricky. This one, 10 is equal to x minus 14. We find what we're trying to solve for, which is x. What's happening is 14 is being subtracted. I'm going to write BEDMAS. We're going to go in the opposite direction. We look for addition, subtraction, and in this case, we do see that right off the start. So this is a subtract 14. We do the opposite, so plus 14, do it to both sides. We have 24, plus and minus canceled out, so 24 is equal to x, all right? So that was an example looking at addition, subtraction. This next one, we have 2 operations. We have 12 is equal to 9x minus 6. So I'm trying to solve for x, and now we say what's happening to x? There's 2 things. It's being multiplied by 9, and then we are subtracting 6. This is where the order really comes to be important. Do we do the 9 or to get rid of the 9 or get rid of the 6 first? Well, it says in reverse order of BEDMAS, we have to do addition, subtraction before any division, multiplication. So we have to get rid of that 6 first. Well, how do we get rid of it? It's saying minus 6. We do the opposite, so we're going to add 6 to get rid of it. Add it on that side. We have to add on this side too, so plus 6. All right, what we have so far, that's 18 is equal to 9x. Now that the 6 is gone, we have to get rid of the 9. That's our division, multiplication. It's being multiplied by 9. The opposite's divide by 9. Cancels out. Divide by 9 on the other side. 18 divided by 9 is 2. And that's all we have as our answer. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. I'm gonna look at another example, but it's a little bit trickier because it's talking about positives and negatives. If we're subtracting a variable, it means that variable is negative. So we see this 12 equals 8 minus x. I think it's common here for people to add 8 because they see a minus and they see the 8 and they think, well, I get 8 by itself, I'm just gonna add 8. But this is a positive 8, subtract x, or kind of like a negative x here. So actually, if I'm going to get rid of the 8, what I would have to do is I have to subtract 8. I'm going to show 2 ways that you can do this. And that is one of the options. You could subtract 8. I'm just going to write down the formula again here. 12 is equal to 8 minus x. You can say, well, I want to get rid of that 8. 8 is a positive value here because there's no minus in front of it. Well, minus 8, gone. Minus 8 here. 12 minus 8 is 4. And now some people just write is equal to x. but the x is still negative. It still has that negative there. So 4 is equal to negative x. All right, now I don't really like leaving it at negative x. So how we would flip that is we would multiply it by negative 1. So we times that by negative 1, and we just get x. But we're not done. If we times this side by negative 1, we have to times the other side by negative 1, which makes it negative 4. You could also remember that as just switching the sign. If 4 is equal to negative x, x is equal to negative 4. That way totally works, and you can do it that way. But there's another way you can do this. You can move the x. All right, so I'm going to write this down. 12 is equal to 8 minus x. And if you say, I don't want to have to deal with negative x, let's just move the x off the start. Well, right now that's minus x. How do we undo that? Would be to add x. So I'm going to go plus x, and it's going to cancel it from that side. But remember, like before, we have to add it to the other side now. So plus x. Now I have 12 plus x, because we can't really put those together. We don't know what x is equal to 8. Now this looks really similar to the ones that we had before. Now I want to get rid of the 12 minus 12 because that was a positive. So I'm going to subtract 12 to get rid of it. Minus 12 over here. 8 minus 12 is equal to negative 4. And we see that we get the same answer on both sides. You can solve it either way, but that's sometimes something that can give people some trouble is when we have a negative variable. Another thing that might cause you trouble is when you have the variable in the denominator. So a variable remains in the denominator until you move it. I think people forget that it has to stay in the bottom there. So for example, I think people see this and they say, well, okay, I see 16. I want to get rid of it, so I'm going to divide. They divide by 16. They go 4 over 16, which is 0.25, is equal to x. And they say we're done. However, somehow we've brought the x out of the bottom. The x has to stay on the bottom unless you do something to move it out. So I'm going to show you how we solve this. The first way I'll show over here is where you actually do pretty similar to that last example by getting rid of the 16 first. So I'm going to repeat that. 4 is equal to 16 over x. You say I want to move the 16 away from x, so I will divide by 16, put it on the bottom. It does cancel out. 4 over 16. That's the same as we had before, but it's 0.25 is not equal to x, it's equal to 1 over x. All right, so we have to remember it's still in the bottom. Now, lots of people don't like dealing with 1 over x, but that's what you get in this situation. What you can do here, or a common way to solve it, is know that any number, so you have 5. 5 is really the same as 5 over 1 as a fraction. And it's looking like a fraction over here with my variable. So I'm going to write not just 0.25, but 0.25 over 1. Now what you can do is you can flip the fraction on one side as long as you flip it on the other, like all the other operations we did. So that would mean flipping this to 1 over 0.25 and flipping it into x over 1, which is the same as just x. And that would be your answer. You throw that into your calculator, 1 divided by 0.25, and you would get 4 as your answer. So that's one way to solve it, but I don't really like the 1 over x, so I'm going to show you another way here. And similar to the subtraction, in this case, we're going to move the x first. So 4 is equal to 16 over x. I'm going to move the x first because I don't like it in the bottom. I want to move it away. Just like the last one, I didn't like it negative. We're going to fix that right off the start. So since 16 is being divided by x, how I'm going to move x out of there is do the opposite and multiply by x. So I put an x at the top. That cancels out. Now on the other side, I have 4 times x, which is 4x. Okay, so I multiplied by x on both sides to bring it out of the bottom. Now I have 4x is equal to 16. We've done questions like this. They're much easier. How do we get rid of the 4? Well, it's timesing by x, so we divide by 4. Divide by 4 on both sides. We have x is equal to 4. Again, you get the same answer both ways. Whichever one you like better, you can do. And that's it for the end of this first little lesson. Give those practice questions a try, and I will see you in the next video.